Let's be honest, there's a moment every man feels but rarely admits, that split second when a woman says something that sounds innocent, but your stomach tightens, your chest feels heavy, and something in you whispers, "She's not telling me the full truth." And the worst part, most men ignore that whisper. They brush it off, believing they're being paranoid, not realizing they just heard one of the 4 sentences women use right before they test you, manipulate you, or quietly position you as an option instead of a priority. By the time you finally understand what happened, she's already pulled back, lost interest, or redirected her attention to someone who handled the moment better than you did. Tonight, I'm going to reveal those 4 phrases and exactly what they mean, straight from a female perspective. Not to demonize women, not to turn you against them, but to give you the clarity most men never receive. Because nobody teaches you this. Not your friends, not your father, not society. You're expected to just understand women, yet women are raised studying every little thing men do. Your tone, your energy, your reactions, your silence. So when a woman says something simple like, "I'm just really busy right now," or "You deserve someone better," or "Let's just see where things go," you hear politeness. But she may actually be signaling withdrawal, control, or emotional repositioning. And the truth is, she doesn't even always do it intentionally. Some of these phrases come from confusion, some from fear, and some from the instinctive psychological patterns women have relied on for thousands of years to protect themselves, socially, emotionally, and romantically. But here's where men get crushed. You respond with logic when she's speaking in emotion. You respond with reassurance when she's testing your certainty. You respond with urgency when she's observing your patience. And you respond with attachment when she's checking whether you can stand your ground. This entire situation becomes a psychological chess game you didn't even know you were playing. She isn't trying to be cruel. She's reading your reactions because a woman needs to feel something before she invests. Safety, attraction, respect, or emotional grounding. And every word she chooses is a window into her mindset. There are 4 phrases in particular, 4 small, subtle, almost harmless sentences that reveal exactly when a woman is about to pull away, play you, test you, or place you in the maybe category. Most men miss them. Most men get blindsided by them. But tonight, you won't be one of those men, because once you understand what these phrases truly mean, you'll no longer cling, chase, or fear losing her. You'll respond in a calm, grounded, masculine way that instantly shifts the power back into your hands, not through force, not through manipulation, but through self-respect and emotional clarity. Before we go deeper, I want to ask you something real. Have you ever felt a woman change direction on you, even though you did everything right? When a woman says, "I'm just really busy right now," most men hear it at face value. They think she's overwhelmed, stressed, or genuinely swamped with life. But from a female perspective, the truth behind this phrase is rarely about time. It's about priority. And that's where men get blindsided. Because no matter how demanding a woman's life is, no matter how chaotic her schedule, if she feels drawn to you, emotionally, physically, psychologically, she finds ways to stay connected, even small ones, a short message, a quick call, a moment of softness, a signal of effort. So when she says she's busy, what she's actually telling you, politely, indirectly, and safely, is that she's stepping back to evaluate something about you, your behavior, your energy, your value, your place in her emotional world. This is where men usually panic. They double text, they over-explain, they ask if something is wrong, they offer to help, they push for clarity, they try to fix the distance instead of understanding it. But the moment you do that, you fail the silent test she's giving you, not a manipulative test, an instinctive one. Women distance themselves when the energy shifts. Maybe you came off too eager. Maybe you started prioritizing her more than your own life. Maybe your confidence slipped. Maybe something about you feels uncertain, and she's subconsciously checking whether you crumble or hold steady. Because here's the truth. Women don't want a man who chases the moment she steps back. They want a man who remains grounded, a man who doesn't collapse under emotional pressure, a man who doesn't hand over all his power just because he's afraid to lose her. When she says she's busy, she's watching how you respond, what you do with that space, whether you remain a solid, self-directed man or shift into insecurity, fear, or neediness. The right move isn't to confront her or pull away dramatically, it's to hold your center. Stay calm, stay focused on your mission. Show, not through words, but behavior, that your life doesn't wobble just because she's distant. You don't punish her, you don't chase her, you don't lecture her, you simply live. When a woman sees a man remain emotionally composed during uncertainty, something deep in her recalibrates. It tells her, this is a man I can trust. This is a man who isn't dependent on me for stability. This is a man with his own gravity. But there's another layer. Sometimes I'm busy is a shield. She might be unsure about you but doesn't want to hurt your feelings. Or she might be talking to someone else but not ready to make that obvious. Or she might be losing interest, and this phrase gives her emotional cover. And while that truth stings, knowing it protects you from wasting your time, energy, and heart on a woman who's not showing up with the same investment you offer. Remember this: a woman who truly wants you will find a window, even a small one. A woman who isn't sure will create distance. And a woman who's playing you will hide behind excuses. When a woman looks you in the eyes and says, I'm not ready for anything serious, most men hear it as vulnerability. They think she's been hurt, that she's scared, that she just needs patience, comfort, reassurance. But from a female psychological lens, that phrase is rarely about emotional unavailability. It's about emotional uncertainty, about you. And that's the part no one tells men. Here's the truth women don't say out loud. When a woman meets a man she genuinely sees as high value, aligned with her desires, stable in his presence, and compelling in his energy, she does not fear seriousness. She doesn't avoid depth. She doesn't hesitate. Her emotions push her forward. Her instincts pull her in. She feels naturally drawn to invest because something about him awakens her feminine sense of security, attraction, and possibility. But when she tells you she's not ready for something serious, she's actually saying she's not ready for something serious with you. Not because you're a bad man, but because she hasn't felt that internal spark, that emotional certainty, that grounding pull women need before they choose commitment. Women use this phrase as a protective shield. It allows her to maintain connection without giving you expectations. It gives her the freedom to take your attention, your presence, maybe even your affection, while leaving the door open for someone else who might appear and ignite a deeper emotional response in her. And men misread this every single day. Instead of hearing the reality, they try harder. They prove themselves. They show loyalty. They become overly available. They demonstrate how commitment-ready they are, thinking it'll convince her. But from a woman's perspective, that only pushes her further, because the moment you try to earn her seriousness, you signal that you're operating from lack, not abundance. You show that you want her more than you want your standards, and nothing drains feminine attraction faster than a man who tries to secure a woman who is unsure about him. Women follow strength, not pursuit, certainty, not convincing, presence, not pressure. So what should you do when she tells you she isn't ready for anything serious? You take her words at face value, not emotionally, but strategically. You don't argue, you don't persuade, you don't try to decode her mixed signals. You simply match her energy and live by one powerful principle. If she's not ready for seriousness, you're not waiting in the shadows, hoping she changes her mind. Instead, you stay open, you stay grounded, you continue improving yourself. You keep your options emotionally realistic, not closed off, not desperate, not dependent on her shift in feelings. Here's the twist women never say. When a man hears, I'm not ready for anything serious, and stays centered, calm, confident, unfazed, it often triggers the exact attraction she wasn't feeling before, because suddenly she's the one unsure, she's the one sensing value, she's the one wondering if she might lose you. That's when everything changes. When a woman tells you, I just need some space, your heart drops. something inside you tightens, and suddenly every fear you've ever carried starts whispering in your ear. You replay every conversation, every text, every moment, trying to figure out what you did wrong. But here's the truth from a female perspective. When a woman asks for space, it's rarely because she needs distance from life. She needs distance from you. And that sentence becomes a doorway to the moment where men lose themselves the fastest. Most men respond to "I need space" with panic. They think it's the beginning of the end. They think it's their job to fix the problem before she disappears. So they reach out more. They ask questions. They try to give comfort. They confess feelings. They over-explain, over-invest, and overreact. And from her perspective, every bit of that pressure suffocates what little attraction or clarity she still has left. Because when a woman says she needs space, she's entering an emotional evaluation mode. She's checking how she feels about you without the influence of your presence. She's resetting the emotional balance. She's asking herself if she feels peace without you or emptiness. Many women don't know how to communicate that directly, so "I need space" becomes the safest, softest way to step back while protecting your feelings and her comfort. But here's the deeper layer men don't understand. When she asks for space, she's observing how you handle the loss of control. Do you collapse emotionally? Do you chase her? Do you beg for answers? Or do you remain centered, focused, and rooted in your own life? Because women are instinctively drawn to men who can handle emotional uncertainty, not with aggression, not with coldness, but with grounded strength. She doesn't want you to fight her for closeness. She wants to see whether you can handle distance without falling apart. It's not a game. It's feminine psychology. Women feel safest with a man who can regulate himself, because if you can hold yourself together, it means you can hold a relationship together. So what should a man do when she says she needs space? You give it to her, without attitude, without resentment, without chasing. But you don't freeze your life for her either. You keep moving, you stay active, you remain social, you stay consistent in your goals. You don't punish her with silence, but you also don't reward her with pursuit. Here's what shakes women the most. When a man gives her space without losing his emotional balance, she feels something she didn't expect: respect. She starts wondering why you're so steady, why you're not chasing, why losing you suddenly feels like a possibility. That's when the dynamic shifts back in your favor, because she realizes your presence is not guaranteed. And nothing makes a woman reassess her feelings faster than the feeling that you are a man she might lose if she's not careful. When a woman tells you you're such a nice guy, it feels like a compliment. It sounds warm, positive, innocent. But every man who's lived through the aftermath of that sentence knows exactly what follows: distance, confusion, inconsistency, or the slow fade out that leaves you wondering what changed. Because from a female psychological perspective, nice guy is almost never about your kindness. It's about her uncertainty, her lack of attraction, her lack of emotional pull, or her lack of respect for the boundaries you've shown her so far. Here's the truth no one admits to men. When a woman feels genuine romantic attraction, she doesn't describe you as nice. She describes how you make her feel: safe, strong, challenged, inspired, desired, grounded, pulled in. Nice is what she calls men who treat her well, but fail to spark her deeper emotional instincts. Nice is what she says when you've given her too much access, too much effort, or too much validation before she earned it. Nice is the word she uses when she sees your kindness, but senses your insecurity beneath it. And here's where men fall into the trap. They double down on being nicer. They become more available. They try harder. They think if they just show her how good they are, she'll eventually choose them. But from her perspective, this proves exactly why she can't. Because you don't lead, you follow. You don't set the tone, you react to hers. You don't create polarity, you avoid tension. You don't know your worth, you offer it freely. The word nice becomes a soft, gentle warning. She sees your good heart, but she doesn't feel that powerful shift in her body that tells her, this is a man I could follow. Women want kindness, but they also want presence. They want compassion, but they also want conviction. They want warmth, but they also need boundaries. Kindness without strength doesn't create attraction. Kindness without standards doesn't inspire respect. Kindness without confidence gets labeled as nice. But here's the part men never hear. Women do want a good man. Deeply. They want someone they can trust, someone stable, someone grounded. But they want that goodness to come from confidence, not fear. They want a man who can care for them without abandoning himself. They want a man who can be gentle without being weak. They want a man who can be kind without being spineless. So what should you do when she calls you a nice guy? You don't flinch. You don't apologize. You don't overcompensate. You simply adjust. You stop overgiving. You pull your energy back to your purpose. You assert your standards calmly. You stop trying to impress her. You let her feel the shift from nice to self-respecting. Because once a woman sees that your kindness is a choice, not a plea for attention, her entire perception of you changes. Nice becomes strong. Strong becomes attractive. Attractive becomes undeniable. The most dangerous phrase a woman says right before she plays you isn't emotional, poetic, or dramatic. It's quiet, simple, almost invisible. It's the moment she looks at you and says, "I don't know what I want." Most men hear confusion. Most men hear vulnerability. Most men hear a woman who needs guidance, reassurance, or patience. But from a female psychological perspective, this phrase is actually the clearest message she could possibly give you, if you know how to hear it. When a woman doesn't know what she wants, she's telling you she hasn't chosen you, emotionally, mentally, or instinctively. She's telling you you're an option, not the anchor. She's telling you she feels torn, not because she's incapable of choosing, but because nothing in her has been fully moved by you yet. And here's the part that stings. Women always know what they want when the right man stands in front of them. They feel it, they trust it, they surrender to it, they follow it. Confusion only exists in the absence of impact. But men misread this phrase more than any other. When she says she doesn't know what she wants, men think it's their chance to prove themselves. They start guiding her. They reassure her. They offer emotional certainty she hasn't earned yet. They open their heart wider. They try to convince her that choosing them is the right move. And from her perspective, that kills the remaining attraction she was trying to measure. Because if she was unsure before, your desperation cements that uncertainty. Here's the truth from the female mind. A woman wants a man who chooses himself first, a man who doesn't need her clarity to be grounded, a man who doesn't beg for a role in her life, a man who hears, "I don't know what I want," and doesn't break, he adjusts. See, this moment isn't about her choice, it's about yours. It's about whether you accept emotional ambiguity or whether you choose emotional standards. When she says she's unsure, the strongest thing a man can do is step back. Not out of anger, not out of punishment, but out of self-respect. You mirror her energy, you respect her uncertainty, and you give her the space to discover whether she actually wants you or whether she just likes the attention you provide. And here's what women never admit. The moment you stop trying to guide her into choosing you, she sees you differently. She sees a man who is secure in himself. She sees a man who won't chase indecision. She sees a man who can walk away with dignity. And for many women, that moment of masculine clarity becomes the moment their confusion turns into desire. The 4 phrases you've heard in this video: "I'm busy," "I'm not ready for anything serious," "I need space," "You're such a nice guy," and the final blow, "I don't know what I want," are not random. They are emotional breadcrumbs. They tell you exactly where you stand, exactly how she sees you, and exactly what you need to do to protect your heart and your value. So now let me ask you something personal. Which of these 5 phrases has a woman used on you before, and what did it cost you emotionally? Tell me in the comments. And if this video hit you deeply, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with a man who needs to hear the truth nobody else will tell him.